Hi guys, my name is Bobby and welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my March TBR. So February actually went really well for me. So I decided in March I'm going to be super ridiculously ambitious, and we'll see how this goes. So the first couple things I want to read in March are things that I'm already working on or started. So the first one is The Girl in the Ice by Robert Brenza. I think I got that. It's an ebook. I'm going to put a picture on the screen. This I had picked for my Thriller-a-thon TBR. It's one of the ones, I think it's the only one I did not finish for my Thriller-a-thon. So I'm in the process of reading it. So that will definitely be read. Also, I will be reading a Richard Lehman this month like I always do. This month's Richard Lehman book is called Flesh. I will be reading that on ebook as well. I'm a little bit nervous about Flesh because reading the description, okay, like I'm preparing to hate it pretty much, and I know I shouldn't go into a book that way, but I'm seriously preparing to hate it. It sounds like a weird version of like The Blob. Everybody remember The Blob? That really terrible, horrible movie? Yeah. So, we'll see how this goes. Also, I have already started, and I started this last month. It was like, well, we took our kids on this little trip to Great Wolf Lodge or whatever for a weekend, and the book I was reading at the time was kind of a chunker and I wasn't going to take it with, so I picked this up to start, and I haven't picked it up since because then I did the Thriller-a-thon, blah blah blah. So I really would like to finish this book this month, and that's Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Everybody knows what Vicious is about. It's about Victor Vale and what's his name? I can't even remember. Eli. It's about Victor and Eli. It's a villainous story, so it's kind of these guys met in college, they're best friends, they find a way to become extraordinary, so then they do, and they end up hating each other in the future, and you're trying to figure out why they hate each other, how did we get to be at this point, blah blah blah. But everybody loves this on BookTube, it seems. So far I like her writing style. I'm not that far in, I'm like 50 pages in. Interesting, I'm intrigued, but I'm not like sucked in yet, so we'll see. But I'd like to finish this one as well. I would also like to say that I would probably like to finish Grey Sister, but I've been saying that for the past like 4 months, so will it happen? I don't know. I'm just not going to put it on here. If I do, I do. Like, and I get so upset because I love Red Sister so much, and Grey Sister's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's really good. I have nothing bad to say about it, but I just don't seem to want to pick it up. It's like one of those things where you keep looking at your shelf and you see, or in my case, like stacks in my closet of all these books you really want to read. And it's like, but do I really want to continue in the series? Or do I want to pick up that, like, something new? And so, struggles. So because of that, we'll see. I'm not putting it on there. But it's kind of like tentatively in the background that it will always be on my TBR until I actually pull it up in a wrap-up and say I've finished the damn thing. Next book I'd like to read will be now my second by this author, since I randomly picked one up in February and was totally wrecked by it. So of course I had to go buy, what, 3 more of her novels, and she has like 50 million, so we'll see. But this is one of the random ones I picked up just because it kind of sounded interesting. But that is Magic Hour by Kristen Hanna. This isn't one of like the popular ones you hear about, like a lot of people talking on BookTube, but since a lot of people have been reading either The Great Alone, The Nightingale, a couple people read Firefly Lane, stuff like that, they've been picking up her backlog work and stuff like that. This is one of them. This takes place in the Pacific Northwest, which is perfect because that's where I live. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And she actually lives in the Pacific Northwest, which I did not know. But this is a story, I can't even remember. Oh, okay. So it's about a child psychiatrist who lived somewhere else and then moves back home to Western Washington. That's where I live. And there is a little girl who comes out of the forest. Like a 6-year-old girl just walks out of the forest. She's alone. She's not talking. And so they have no idea who she is or what's happened to her or anything. So this child psychiatrist who's just moved home, she's determined to figure out what's going on with this little girl who she names Alice. So she must find out the truth about her past and all that stuff. So it's probably going to be hard-hitting and traumatic, just like all of her books are. I'm seeing a trend lately with Kristen Hanna. Anybody who talks about her, they always say they cried their eyes out or they were just super upset the entire time. It's because the writing is so good that you feel so immersed in the story. And now after reading one of her books, I have to agree. But everybody else who started to read like other things of hers, they say nothing changes. She's just like that through the entire thing, and just is one of those authors that writes those really hard-hitting stories that just make you want to cry. And I said before that, you know, I'm not a big fan of contemporary, and I'm really not, but I love her writing. So I really want to read a lot of her other things because I just love the way she writes. So this I'm hoping to pick up and keep my Kristen Hanna trend going this month. The next book is one I've seen talked about on BookTube. I want to say a lot, but not really a lot. A lot in like the horror community, like, which, you know, there's a small group of us that like horror. So like kind of like the horror mystery thriller community. Natasha at My Reading Is Odd has talked about it. Rachel at The Shades of Orange has talked about it. So there's a, you know, some horror readers who have talked about it. And the only reason I bought this book, like, okay, I wanted to read it. Like, it was on my radar, but this is like, sounds really stupid and a really dumb excuse to buy a book. But I was on Amazon and I needed to get these specific highlighters that I use at my work, and I needed 2 packs, and for some reason we couldn't order them through our own ordering, like our Staples order. So I bought them for work because we need them. So I paid for them with my own money, but they ended up being an add-on item, so you had to spend at least $25. So I bought this book in order to get it over so I could get them. I know it's a poor excuse to buy a book, but hey, I have a problem. So that book is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. You know what? I don't even know if I've heard anybody review this book yet. I should look it up and see, because I've heard people haul this. I've heard it on people's TBRs, but I've never seen if anybody's actually finished it or read it. I believe it's on Natasha's February TBR, if I remember right, because I remember her talking about it, or did she just haul it? I can't remember, but I tend to like Natasha's reviews, so hopefully she gets this read. But this just sounds like a really, really fun story. This is about a group of horror authors that are thrown into a haunted house and they need to survive the night kind of deal. So it's a haunted house story, but I think there's like a little bit more to it. But at the core, it's a haunted house story. And there's, you know, horror authors, like, and they're all like different type of genre authors. Like, you have the one guy that's like equivalent to Stephen King. You have, you know, the guy that's kind of like Dean Koontz, who's like popular but writes kind of like formulaic, you know, horror stories. You know, they have all these different types of horror authors, and they're stuck in this house. And it says it's gothic horror. I'm down for gothic horror. I love gothic horror. The only thing I don't like is that it's got deckled edges, and I'm not a fan of deckled edges at all. It makes it really hard, like, turning the pages. But I'm excited to start this. I'm really in need of a good horror. I haven't had one in a long time, and I've heard good enough things about this that this is something I definitely would like to try to start. The next book on my list was one of my Goodreads. Was one of my book of the month picks for the month of February. I ended up getting 3 in the month of February. One of them was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, which is a book that was like offered last year when it first came out, and I just never got it because at the time I had no idea who Kristen Hanna was, and it didn't seem that interesting to me. But now that I've read one of her books and I know what, you know, how her writing style is and how she writes, I was like, oh, well, now I need to get it. So I got that one, and then another one that's historical fiction, and this is the other one that I picked up, and that is A Woman Is No Man by Etaf Rum. This is a story of, are they Muslim? Oh, okay, so they come from Palestine, so they're Palestinians, and it's set in 2 different time periods, back in 1990 and in 2008, so you have the mother's journey and then the daughter's journey. So it's about a mother and a daughter. So in the mother, you know, goes into an arranged marriage and they come over to the United States. You know, she doesn't want to have anything to do with like the suitors and like being with all the different men that her father want her to be with and to be around, and he just doesn't care. So he marries her off, and then they move from Palestine to Brooklyn. And then she's under the oppressive nature of her mother-in-law, who expects her to act a certain way based on their religious beliefs and their cultural beliefs. Like, she needs to be a certain way, so she feels really suppressed. And then she has 4 daughters instead of the sons that she's supposed to have by their culture. You know, sons are, you know, more. And then then we go, like, and then there's the 2008, like, I'm just reading off the dust jacket because when I got this, it sounded super interesting, but I haven't looked at it since, and I should have better prepared, but I'm a shitty booktuber, let's be real. So, then in the 2008, you have, you know, her daughters, and her daughters are now growing up, but her parents died in a car accident, which it says right in the dust jacket, so grandmother, who was the oppressive mother-in-law in her mother's story, is now raising these 4 girls and wanting them to do the same traditions and stuff. And it's about telling her, you know, her grandmother saying the only way to secure a worthy future is to marry the correct man, and, you know, that kind of stuff. But she is trying to figure out what really happened with her parents, like, and with their marriage, because, you know, her mother died, they died when she was rather young, and it just seemed really interesting to me, like, reading about how women are treated or how they're expected to be in other cultures, I find really fascinating. So this one appealed to me more. I noticed a lot of people, I haven't seen a lot of people get this one. Most people got On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. That was offered last month, and when I saw that, I knew almost everybody was going to pick that one. So I decided to get, you know, a couple of the other ones. But yeah, this one just seemed really interesting. Like, I'm curious, well, it's kind of got the little bit of the mystery, like what really happened to her parents. Like, did they really die in a car accident? You know, what's really going on with her mom, or what happened to her mom. So this one just sounded really appealing. So this, and it's pretty short. I mean, it's about 300 pages. But this one seemed like a really engaging, which I guess it's another freaking contemporary. Like, Bobby doesn't like contemporaries. Well, and there's 2 of them on my TBR. I have 2 more. The next one is like, okay, so there's a story behind this one, kind of. So, what was a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, my husband he'd bought something online, I don't remember what it was something that was stupid, like, it was like, why'd you spend that stupid money? I mean, it wasn't anything huge or whatever, but it was still like, I was giving him shit for it, like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, I was like, you know, I don't do that very often, not all the time, and he was like, oh, well, check your email, and I was like, okay. Freaking enabler. He's a fucking enabler, okay? Like, so he gives me crap all the time about how books are my crack, and I say all the time, well, at least it's not anything worse, and he makes fun of when I get book of the month, and I pick 3 instead of just the 1, or he, like, looks at my huge stacks in my closet. Like, I have 3 stacks of books in my closet, and he gives me so much crap for it. You know, he knows that I'm actively reading, so he sees me reading. I have 3 bags of books that are going to the library to be donated, so I mean, there's a cycle of them going in and out, but he gives me so much crap all the time about it. So it was in my email, $100 Barnes & Noble gift card, because he's a fucking enabler. So of course, I had to spend that immediately, and there was a couple things I wanted to get. I made 2 pre-orders, one for the new Taylor Jenkins Reid, the Daisy Jones and the Six, and one for the new Josh Malerman, which comes out in April, which is called Inspection, I believe. So I pre-ordered those, and then it was like, okay, well, what else do I want? And that's where I got the one Kristen Hanna. And then I was thinking, I was like, oh, I really need to, like, complete a trilogy that I have started but have not finished, but I'd like to actually have the completed set on my bookshelf. So I went ahead and completed that, and ended up having to spend an extra $50 over my gift card, but we're not going to talk about that. So I started this book back in, what was it, December? I think it was back in December, maybe November. I got it as an ebook from my library, and I hate reading this trilogy. I've tried it before. Tried it with book 1, and that's part of the reason why it took me 3 tries to read it. You might be getting an idea of what it is. And so I did, and I only got maybe 200 pages in, and these are big books, and I was just like, screw it, and I let it get returned. I was like, I'm just going to go out and buy the book eventually, and I finally did, so I'd like to finish it, and that's Obsidio by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I read Gemina back in November, I think? November, December. That was a library book. For some reason, my freaking library doesn't have Obsidio, which is absolutely ridiculous. This has been out for almost a year now. So I ended up buying Gemina as well. It's over there. So I have Illuminae in paperback, because, like, Illuminae in hardcover cost a freaking fortune because it's been so long since it's been out. And then I bought Gemina in hardcover, and then Obsidio in hardcover. So now I have the full trilogy, and now I can actually finish Obsidio. Oh, it's reflecting. I can see it reflecting on the lens. But now I can actually read Obsidio and finish it. Like, I'm gonna have to try to find out where I was in here. But I know it wasn't, like, super duper far, because it's really hard to read. Again, oh, that's, of course, a spot that's not, oh, here, that's a good, where is that? Like, it's mixed media. So you got mixed media format. Here, this is, like, text feed. So it's hard, it's easy to read, but very hard to read on an ebook, because it tries to, especially the pictures, it tries to shrink them, or, you know, tries to spread them out, and it messes with the configuration and settings, and it's just a pain. But I love the dust jacket on this. The dust jacket on this is, like, clear. And so then the book has like, it's like printed on the hardcover. I love books like that. And Gemina is the same way. But this will be easy to finish. I was already at least, I think, 200 to 300 pages into this. And I remember I was trying to bust my butt to finish it back in the month that I was trying to read it. But it didn't work out, and just doing it on an ebook just sucked. So finally buckled down, bought the hardcover, bought the actual physical copy. So now I can finally finish Obsidio and be done with Illuminate Files. And I'm really nervous to finish it because I've heard mixed things. Some people say, like, not everybody makes it out. But then other people go, oh, well, you don't have to worry, like, nobody of importance dies, which, it's YA, like, you kind of expect that. But I'm still excited to finish it and figure out, like, if they finally beat these people, or beat, what is it, biotech. Or biotech. Excited to finally finish this. Then the last book I'm going to start, because I'm not going to finish it this month, I can guarantee it, unless by some magical happening, I, you know, get a wild hair and just read straight for a couple of days. I mean, it's possible to would be able to finish this book in like even a week or a couple of days. But that would make you assume, or, you know, that would require having some dedication and like focus, and not having like book ADD where you're constantly like going, oh, okay, I'm really loving this book, but that one over there, ooh, I kind of want to start that one, which it's a fault. It's become a problem. If you look at the stack of books that I've started and then haven't, it's becoming an issue. But this one I pre-ordered. It was one of my pre-orders from Barnes & Noble from my Christmas gift cards. So, or no, it's from Amazon, excuse me. I did a pre-order on Amazon. Why did I even go shopping on Amazon? Oh, because I have no chill. But I was dicking around and I got 2 pre-orders. One, of course, is Dark Dawn by Jay Kristoff, which is book 3 in the Nevernight Chronicles, which all of them that are pre-ordered are going to come signed. I am so excited. It'll be signed by Jay Kristoff, and some of them will have doodles in them. I'm not going to get one of the doodles, but, you know, you never know. It's going to be completely random. So I pre-ordered that one, and I pre-ordered this bitch, and it arrived Tuesday, which was its publication day, and everybody's talking about it. It is all over BookTube, but it just sounded so good, so I had to get it. Hold on, let me put my back into it while I lift this. And that's The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This thing is huge. It is ginormous. It is over 800 pages. It is a brick. Like, it is so hard to hold. It is heavier than heavy. It is a giant brick. But it is about, and like this cover, like look at that cover, and it is so shiny, and it's beautiful, and the dragon's all detailed. All I know is this is a standalone epic fantasy that is very female-centric. I think it's a queendom. It talks about a queendom, or that's where it takes place. It's tons and tons of female characters. There's dragons, tons of dragons. It's like an east and a west, and they're not getting along, and they need to parlay, and they're not doing it. And there's witches and mages, I think they say. I mean, here's the description, and the description is very, very short and sweet, which I kind of like. A world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens. The House of Barenthnet, it's fantasy names, has ruled Innis for 1,000 years. Still unwed, Queen Sabran the Ninth must conceive a daughter to protect her realm from destruction, but assassins are getting closer to her door. Iad Durin is an outsider at court. Though she has risen to the position of lady-in-waiting, she is loyal to a hidden society of mages. Iad keeps a watchful eye on Sabran, secretly protecting her with forbidden magic. Across the Dark Sea, Tanya has trained all her life to be a dragon rider, but is forced to make a choice that could see her life unravel. Meanwhile, the divided East and West refuses to parley, and forces of chaos are rising from their sleep. So, epic fantasy, full of females and dragons. I'm down. But as I was looking through this book, like I was shuffling through the back to figure out how long the page count was. So the actual page count of the story is 804. But you have from page 805 to page, oh my god, to page 820 is a glossary of characters. So we have 15 pages of a glossary of characters. And then you have the actual glossary of terms that lasts from 821 to 825. So that's only like, you know, four pages, but of a glossary of things. And then you have a timeline, so of the history, that is 2 pages. So This is a very intricate and in-depth fantasy world, and as far as she says, this is a standalone. It's taken her years to write. I think it said she started it in 2015. So I'm excited to get to it. Just hearing all female cast pretty much, and dragons. Like, there's no mention of love interest. I mean, kind of, one has to make an error, but I'm just, okay, I'm excited. This definitely will not get finished this month. Like, I know me, but unless I just get a wild hair, but I would love to start it and get into it. Just, even if it takes me months, I would like to get this started this month, and I'm really excited about it. I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron because I could be reading Grey Sister, which I probably will as well, but it's shiny, and it's new, and it's pretty, and it's got dragons. Okay, guys. Okay, this is going to break my back trying to lift this. Thank you, Samantha Shannon, for writing a brick house of a book. So these, now I should turn it around. These are the massive amount of books that I would like to get to, including the 2 ebooks, because I have my Richard Lehman book, and I'm still reading Girl in the Ice. So, yeah, that's 8 books, which isn't bad, because I read about 7 or 8 books this last month in February, and March is longer. So yeah, these are the books I'd like to read in the month of March. Please let me know in the comments down below what you guys are reading in March. Have you read any of these books? I'd like to know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.